أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولقد أرسلنا إلى أمم من قبلك فأخذناهم بالبأساء والضراء لعلهم يتضرعون ولولا إذ جاءهم بأسنا تضرعوا ولكن قست قلوبهم وزين لهم الشيطان ما كانوا يعلمون صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين. I bear witness that without Allah there is no God, and I bear witness that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, is the final messenger of Allah, after whom no prophet old or new will come. And I begin in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. The two verses on chapter 6 of the Quran that I've recited, I translate as follows. Surely we sent forth apostles to populations before you. Then we troubled them with injuries and damages for them to make themselves meek. But when our challenges befell them, they still did not make themselves meek. Rather, their minds became rigid and external negative influences attracted them to whatever way they behaved. Whenever I begin my speeches and sermon with the universal kalima of Islam that says, La ilaha illallah, I translate it in this way. La ilaha, no God. Illallah is there without Allah. And there's a reason for that. Because I've often said the word Allah is a personal name of God. All other names that have been given are mere descriptions of God. So the attributes of Allah are possessed only by God. How is it therefore that people can reject the concept of God, especially scientists in this modern day and age? You can study the stars, you can study the moon, you can study outer space, you can study everything on earth below the sea, and you will not find how these qualities and attributes of God have come into existence. Love, justice, truth, forgiveness. All of these qualities do not exist anywhere except in the divine being, and He passes that on to us. Yes, we know that one of the things about love is attractiveness, and in basic atom, you will find an attraction of electrons and protons and so on. You will find electricity flows because of the attraction between negative and positive, and you will find certain chemical reactions, and even among animals, you will find a mother hen, for example, caring and looking after its chicks, and similarly with other animals. To some extent, everything in creation reflects some kind of attribute of God, but it's not perfect. It is only when you come to human beings that we are given the opportunity to strive throughout our lives to acquire more and more of the attributes of Allah. And so the Quran tells us, therefore, that how do we do that? How do we know what the attributes of God are? And how do we know how to put them into effect? There are a lot of people who say the Quran says, Ati Allah, obey Allah. But they interpret that to mean obey the Quran. Yes, that's one interpretation. The Quran is the word of Allah. But obeying Allah also means to follow the attributes of Allah, to listen to the attributes and apply them in our lives. And for that we have to know who God is, not merely believe in a God. It's easy to say, I believe in something, but then you ignore it. I just know that it exists and that's it. No, the Quran, and indeed all scriptures and all religions, want us to have a wasila, the Quran uses the term, a connection with God, a relationship with God, so that the attributes of Allah will come upon us. And it's very easy to apply that even in our modern day world. If you're traveling along the road and you're lost, and you see an individual, and you ask that individual, hey man, where is so-and-so? The person may feel offended. You just call him a man as if they're just, an ordinary person on the road. But if you say, hey brother, can you show me over here, sister? Is it possible that you can direct me to so-and-so? How you speak to people will bring about a reaction. So if you treat a person with hostility, they will react with hostility. If you treat them with kindness, they will react with kindness. And it's the same relationship we have with Allah. Allah treats us with kindness, but very often we take it as an affront. And sometimes we ourselves sometimes don't treat God with kindness because we complain against Him, we abuse Him, or when I say we, I mean so many people in the world. And therefore the correct approach is to look at God as a being that loves us, a being that cares for us, a being that nurtures us and provides all the resources for our physical, moral and spiritual development, for our everyday existence, for facing challenges in life. And so the Quran says Allah has sent apostles. Apostles are not sent, why are they sent? Apostles are not sent to punish people. Some people think that when the prophets came, and Abraham came, and Isaac came, and Jacob, and Jesus Christ, and Ram and Krishna, the idea was to punish people. No. It is to correct people, to bring them back to the path of righteousness if they have gone astray. And if they have not, to show them how the path that you are taking will lead to rewards, will lead to further benefit, will lead to joy and happiness. So apostles are not sent without joyful news, the Quran says. We don't send them unless they give some kind of joyful information that will give you joy and happiness. And also, they will put you caution, because sometimes things that we think will give us joy can bring unpleasantness to us, can become offensive to us. Everything that is enjoyable is not enjoyable for everyone. So the Quran says that apostles come to bring two things. One is joyful news. That is, you follow a particular path and it would lead to happiness. But they bring also caution, responsibilities.
and tell you that if you should avoid this, it will be okay. And if you don't avoid it, these will be the consequences upon you. So joyful news are really, the Quran calls us mubashirat, that is, joyful news are really an incentive, an encouragement to improve yourself. While caution, that is also brought by the apostles, is to manage tragedies and to make people meek, to humble ourselves, to realize that, look, these challenges come upon us, I need to turn to God. I need to get a higher resource. It's like if you don't have, something, you will look for those who can provide it for you. If you don't have money, you will look to someone who has money to either borrow or beg or, take a loan or in some way. Well, some people even steal it because that's the way they're going to get it. There are legal and illegal ways, right and wrong ways of acquiring anything. But the thing is, once we don't have, we turn to those who have the resources and be able to get them from it. If we want medical advice or legal advice or whatever advice we need, some kind of assistance in fixing our house or the road or so, we will turn to those who have the resources. And so it is when challenges come upon our lives, when tragedies come upon our lives, to manage them, we have to be meek and humble. We have to bow down and turn towards those who have the resources in order to get their help and assistance. Sometimes people are haughty, they're proud, they're swell-headed. I would never turn to that. I would never ask my son or my father or my brother or sister or neighbor or so-and-so to do it for me because you are angry with them, you have some kind of bad relationship with them. When you do that, you are preventing yourself from having the benefits of resolving and solving your particular problems. So the Quran wants us to remove all kind of haughtiness. We have to bow down sometimes. We have to humble ourselves sometimes and become dependent upon Allah. If we don't want to be dependent on anyone else, at least be dependent on God. He will guide us. Allah will guide us. He will provide the resources, and the resources He provides are not only material resources. If I humble myself to Allah and I have problems with my wife, my parents, my children, my neighbor, and I ask Allah, He will change my attitude. He will either make me humble or He will make that person forgiving and come and say, okay, I will try to see eye to eye with you. That is what nations should be doing, in striving to attain peace and harmony in the world. But they become haughty and say, we are going to be the greatest, we are better than you. The moment we begin to put ourselves higher than others, we are making a problem more difficult. It is important for us, and we know that the thing that is leveling everywhere, everyone is leveled when you go to the earth. When you bury a rich person, you bury a poor person, they are in the same earth they are buried. We can be higher than each other. Some can be in an airplane, some can be in a higher house, skyscraper, but when it comes to the earth itself, dust is equal all over. The earth is equal for everybody. So the Quran uses that terminology that we are created from dust, showing that we are capable of humbling ourselves. And the lower we make ourselves and others lower themselves to our level, they come down to our level, we can now have what is called a level playing field. So the Quran says, however, anyone who pursues goodwill benefit from adversities, challenges, damages, tragedies. We benefit from it. But those who pay no heed to their spiritual development, the development of the inner self, reject the messages, they allow wrong attitudes to determine how to behave. The Quran uses the word shaitan to mean negative thoughts, negative ideas, wrong approaches and attitudes that influence us. So we allow wrong attitudes to determine how we behave. I can do it, I have the knowledge, I have the technique, I know I'm right, that one is wrong. And so by adopting that kind of haughtiness, we are unable to really bring about harmony and solving some of our problems. So the Quran points out to us in these verses, it says, anyone who ignores the caution, and everything we have to do, we have to be cautious. We have to take the necessary steps to make sure we are doing the right thing at the right time in the right place. And anyone who ignores the caution, you are given all the opportunities that you see. Yes, if you ignore all the rules and regulations, you can do what you want. If a person is driving along the highway and they have to follow certain rules and regulations in any country of the world, drive on the left, drive on the right, or follow a particular, drive at a particular speed, then they will most likely reach their place safely. But if they're reckless and remove all caution, say, I don't want to follow the sign, I don't want to obey traffic lights, I don't want to obey the traffic rules, and any other rule, whether you're flying an aircraft, whether you're walking on the road, once you throw, as they say, caution to the dust, once you throw caution, you find that you make yourself liable to all kinds of tragedies. So we are given, when you break the rules, you are free to do whatever you want. You're given every opportunity, the Quran says. Anything that you want, you can do, because you're not following rules. There are no rules and guidelines which restrict you. And so the Quran then says your joy becomes regret when calamity comes upon them. I've been told, for example, an individual recently purchased a vehicle and then felt, well, now that I have my own vehicle, I can drive, I can speed, whatever it is, and then end up, somewhere in an accident, perhaps lost their life, or cause the death of other people as well. So your joy turns to regret when calamity comes upon them and they suffer depression. Now you go into a state of depression. Why didn't I do it this way? Why didn't I restrain myself? I could have just held back a little bit. I could have waited. So many things come to our mind. And not only in cases like these, we find people who are pursuing education, for example, young people. You find that they become, if they don't follow the rules, they don't read their books, they don't do their homework, they're studying only video games or television or whatever it is, they throw all caution to the wind. They just, as I say, skylark and don't follow the rules and regulations and the timetable and so on. Then you find that they're free and they do so many things, they enjoy life, but eventually, when the results come, you find that it puts them in a state of depression. So the Quran says that those who pursue good benefits, who pursue good, you want the good things of this life, and then you benefit from the strength that you get from adversity and troubles. I was seeing a video of people in England who recently, students who passed their GC at high levels, and they all said, we work very hard. We work very hard, and today we can be joyful because the pass mark didn't seem to be so great for so many people. But those who were interviewed and were successful said, yes, this is the reward of our hard work. We sacrificed, we gave up a lot of things, focused on our schoolwork, and they got strength from the hard task. One person said the questions were difficult, but we were prepared for it. So that adversity and troubles prepare us for some of the challenges that we have in life. And the Quran says, but there are some people who, even though you may change the community and society, there are some who remain and they do wrong, but they are prevented from continuing their wrongdoing. As I say, one bad apple can spoil an entire barrel. But the Quran is saying that if you leave one rotten apple, the barrel will spoil. What we do is we take all that, and then you find that it is unable to further pollute others. Similarly, if you have a garden and you take all the weeds, you will find that the other plants will flourish. So the words used in the Quran is that they are weeded out, people who affect the community and society and the progress of the community and society, and the moral and spiritual development. They are weeded out, Allah says, to allow good persons to grow rather than being hampered by them. So the Quran wants us to appreciate that failing to make use of our senses, it says we have given you senses, we have given you eyes and ears and hearing and a mouth that you can ask. So if you fail to make use of your senses, then you will lose those senses and they will become useless. The English word for it is atrophy. If you don't use your hand, it becomes stiff. As people know, if you put your hand in a cast or your foot or so, and you don't exercise it, you find later on you're unable to use it at all. You're unable to use it. So failing to make use of any sense that we have, our sight, if we don't use it, but not only physical sight, the inner sight, the inner hearing the voice of Allah within our hearts and mind, they will be taken away. Now the Quran points out to us that yes, there is joyful news that are incentive, but sometimes catastrophe. Catastrophe comes in our lives either suddenly or slowly. Sometimes we just realize I'm ill. I got a sudden heart attack. I'm healthy, I'm walking, and suddenly I get a heart attack and I, fall down. Perhaps maybe I can recover, perhaps not. Or sometimes it comes slowly. But throughout our lives, we are suffering from some kind of challenge, some kind of disease, and we are unable to know until later on in life. So the Quran once tells us that Allah's guidance, the guidance that we get from Allah in our relationship with Allah, that our relationship with God is purposeful. It has a reason. And that guidance prepares us for such disasters, whether they come suddenly or whether they come slowly. But rejecting His guidance leaves us unprepared. The fact that I have a relationship with God in some way will indicate to me that, look, I have a problem and I need to attend to it. Or if I don't, it doesn't indicate and it comes upon me suddenly, I begin to get the guidance as to deal with it immediately. And I can rush and get the proper, assistance, whether it is health, whether it is wealth, whatever it may be. And of course we know that one of the greatest tragedies in life is death. Death is the greatest tragedy and the greatest calamity that is most feared. Everybody is afraid of death. But hope is given that there is a greater benefit even after death. Why should we be afraid of death? There was a gentleman who wrote a book. He was a very famous atheist in the Western world. And he wrote in one of his books, he said, I don't believe in God, but I believe in life after death. And he explained, and he said, when I look at a caterpillar, it has so many legs and it's so long, and then it goes into what is called cocoon. And after a while, it comes out as a butterfly. Where all the bones, where all the organs and so on. It's a totally different creature, beautiful with wings. The caterpillar didn't have wings. It had so many legs, now it just has 2 or 4, the 8 or whatever it is the insect has. And it has a different structure, a different function. And he said that is evidence that after death there is life, and a better life too, something that is more beautiful. So that the Quran indicates to us that there is hope, and that hope is there's a greater benefit after death. So even when we have our relationship, and that doesn't only mean the physical death, death with regards to our ideas, our behavior, our attitudes. If I hate somebody, and that comes to that, and I no longer hate them, then I can become friends with them. I can have a good relationship with them, and vice versa. If I love somebody, and that death comes with that love, then I will begin to treat them with animosity. I will begin to hate them. So death is important for us to focus on, not only on the physical death. The Quran uses the word death in several senses, and there is then no need for fear or grief. That is anxiety or suffering when we understand the role and purpose of death, leading to something which is better. But there must be death of the bad things, not death of the good. If the good things die, then we become bad. If the bad things die, then we can become good. So Quran is indicating to us that if we fail to pay attention to the warnings, it means we are not being cautious, as I've said. We throw caution to the wind, and not being cautious means that we go to excesses. We exceed the limits and the restrictions that have been laid down. So the joyful news, the Quran tells us that the apostles come with those caution as well as joyful news. But the joyful news does not mean, that is brought by the prophets, does not mean worldly wealth, material things alone. Yes, they do give us guidelines to improve our economic condition and our physical and health condition and so on. But it doesn't only mean that. Nor does it mean foreseeing the future. A lot of people want to know what will happen to me tomorrow or next week and so on. They want to see the future. Or they feel prophets should either come with wealth, come with information about the future that they can benefit from, or they're able to control the forces of nature. They are angels. Angels are the forces of nature. Many people want to know the future, to benefit and profit from it. But what the Quran is pointing out to us, we should really benefit from the present. What knowledge we have now, what resources we have now, what guidance we have now, those are the things we have to use, not merely what we expect in the future. Although the Quran tells us that we must be certain of the future, but that certainty only comes on the use of the present, the resources that we have in present. And so the Quran says, the Prophet Muhammad is told, say to people, I do not say to you, I own when from Allah. I do not say I know the unseen. I do not say that I am an angel or in control of the forces of nature. I lead my life. Prophet Muhammad is required to tell people, I lead my life based upon that which conveyed by Allah to me. And then he says, are the blind and the seeing alike? Do you not then reflect? What does it mean? The Prophet Muhammad's treasure is the Quran and the messages of the Quran and the guidance of the Quran. That is his treasure. It is utilization of the messages of the guidance of the Quran. By developing a relationship with Allah, we can conquer the world. We can acquire wealth, we can acquire health, we can do so many things. Knowledge we can acquire because Allah has all those resources and can give us once we have that relationship with Him. And with the Quran, therefore, we can enrich ourselves by developing qualities that are beyond the physical and beyond the material things of this world. And so the example is given, are the blind and the seeing alike? What does that mean? If you look at a blind person doesn't need wealth. A blind person doesn't need treasure. A blind person doesn't need, what the blind person needs is to see. They want a better eyesight. They want to be able to enjoy the world. Take away an individual's eyesight and all the wealth that they have is nothing really compared to them. They can't even see what color is gold or what nice clothes they have on or what nice clothes other people have on. Yes, they can feel and react and so on. People can manage their blindness, no doubt about it, and it can become a treasure for them if they have a relationship with Allah. But the most important thing a blind person needs, he or she needs to see again. So the Quran opens our eyes to the realities of life. It makes us not blind to the world and blind to our Creator. It opens our eyes to make us understand the nature of the Divine Being and how we can react with Him and how we can benefit from His attributes to make ourselves and our lives better. So when the Quran opens our eyes, it gives us understanding of the realities of life and indeed how to enjoy and to manage them, how to manage the challenges in life, the realities of life, whether they are joyful news or whether they are catastrophes or challenges or damages or troubles that may come our way. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Quran al-Azim wa nafa'ana wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikril hakim innahu ta'ala jawadun kareem malikun barrun ghafurur rahim. Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udzu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa nashhadu anna Muhammadan 'abduhu wa rasuluhu. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma ansur man nasara deen Muhammadin sallallahu alaihi wasallam wa jama'an. O Allah, help those who help the religion and the way of life of Muhammad, and let us be from among them. Allahumma qzul man qasala deena Muhammadin sallallahu alaihi wasallam wa la tajal min. O Allah, frustrate the designs of those who try to frustrate the way and the path that the Prophet Muhammad has given to us, and don't let us be from among them. Inna Allaha ya'muru bil adli wal ihsani wa ita'i zil qurba wa yanha 'anil fahsha'i wal munkari wal baghi ya'izukum la'allakum tadhakkarun. اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر.
Allahu Akbar.